In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to assemble an office chair. Right, I have the base, the wheels, the armrest, the reclining mechanism, the compressor, the seat cushion, and this is the backrest. They've supplied 2 sizes of screws and an Allen key. For this chair, we're going to start with the base. I flip it upside down, I take the supplied wheels, and each wheel slots into one of the arms of the base. I hold the wheel and the base firmly in hand and I press in. You should now have the base for your chair. Lift it up, check that all the wheels are in place, and give it a firm press. Tap it on each side to make sure that each wheel is seated in the recess. I now take the compressor. Do not press this button. Leave it in the compressed format. I take these sleeves and I put this over. If your plastic covers were all loose, start from the biggest one, then insert the next one, and then the smallest one, and then pull from the top, and then we can get the full sleeve. Insert the compressor through the sleeve and I'll seat this inside there. Don't worry if this is a bit loose. Once this is depressed and this extends, these will seat nicely. And I have the seat. Notice it has a label. It says front. I have the seat part upside down. I have the reclining mechanism, and notice that it says front. So I line the front of the seat mechanism to the front of the seat. Confirm that all the cutouts of the seat mechanism align with the already present holes on the underside of the seat. In the package, there are 2 different sizes of screws. For this seat, the shorter screws are for the seat mechanism. In this case, there are 4 screws to be inserted. There are no washers on these screws. You might find that your screws have washers, or there may be separate washers that they require you to fit before inserting the screws. In this case, there are no washers and I can go directly to inserting the screws. It's very important to insert the screw by hand. And the reason I do that is I do not want to use power tools at this stage because I want to make sure that I do not cross thread any of the screws. So the 4 screws have now been threaded by hand. In the package, they supply a tool. There's a little Allen key which I can now use. I use the Allen key to tighten these screws. If you have a power tool, you can use it, but just do it very carefully and slowly. We do not want to over tighten any of these screws. Oftentimes, there's quite a lot of space where these cutouts are. Just make sure that you've positioned it in the middle. Notice that each of these screws is positioned in the middle of the holes. And I tighten this manually by hand. For best practice, go around again and check that all are tight. This Allen key should not bend or deflect while you're tightening it. That means you've tightened it too tight if you're seeing the Allen key wanting to bend while you're tightening it. This chair has 2 armrests. On either side of the seat, I have to place the armrests. The armrests are directional. Notice there is a pattern here. Now for this chair, this is the front of the armrest. So remember that we are turning this upside down. We're working upside down. So this over here still has to face the front, but in this case, if I turn it upside down, it means it's going on this side. So there is the front of the chair by this label and by that. So therefore, the front of the armrest, according to the design of the image, this must face the front. So I need to have this in alignment with that front and that front. Now, it's very common for the armrest to have longer screws. There are 3 cutouts for the armrest to be fastened to the underside of the seat. And on the underside of the seat, there are the 3 holes for the armrest. I feed the screw through the hole here. When feeding the screws in, make sure that they go in easily. If anything is stiff at this point, you might be cross-threading the screw. Once I've confirmed that the screws can go in quite easily, only then can I use my power tool to just tighten this. Now notice that these cutouts are quite big, meaning that the armrest can be extended outwards or inwards. This is based on the size of the person who's going to be sitting in the chair. If you're assembling this for a person who has wider hips, then you want the armrest to be at the maximum. So it will look like that. If you want the armrest closer, so that your arms can be closer to your body, you can press it in and have a slightly narrower width between each armrest. In my case, I'm just going to put it in the middle. Notice that there is some leverage here to have the armrest facing a little bit outwards or a little bit inwards. Remember, you don't have to have power tools to do this installation. They have supplied a tool in the little package, and I'm using that to do the tightening. With the armrest, keep going round, 1, 1, 1. You will notice that when you tighten the one side and the middle, this will seem like it's looser. It's just because this is embedding into the bottom of the seat. So keep going around and tightening. Once it offers me quite a bit of resistance, I just do a 16th turn. That is it. And over here, it's offering me resistance, a 16th turn. But I notice that I still have to tighten it more because it seems like it's gotten loose for this one. So I just keep doing this until I notice that it is now seated nicely. It is now feeling like it's getting tight. I'm only going to tighten this last one more time, and that is it. It is now tight. Right, do the same for the other armrest. Just a tip, if you're assembling this chair on the floor, you can open up the package and you can use the inside of the box so that you don't scratch any of the armrests or any of the fittings of your chair. Right, this is the back of the seat, and over here we want to fit the last part, which is the backrest. Some chairs require it to be screwed into this fitting over here, while others go directly into the seat, and in this case it even overlaps the seat and the reclining mechanism. Right, this is the seat back, and there we can see it where it's going to be mounted onto the back of the seat. So there is where I'm going to mount it. There are 4 holes there which align with the plate of the seat back, and it's going to sit like this. And now it's always important to look at the diagram that's provided, because in this case the question is, would the seat back sit under the reclining mechanism or over? But according to this image, it sits over. Please consult the diagram or the picture if you're unsure. Right, so I have the seat balancing at an angle, and I can just thread these screws in here. You might find on some chairs different parts of the chair require different screws. In this case, they've made it simple. All the screws were the same except for this piece here had shorter screws. So these are effectively the same screws used on the armrests. Always insert them by hand, firstly to make sure that they are threading correctly. If you're finding that they're stiff or it won't go in, unscrew it and then go try again. It should go in quite easily. For final tightening, I prefer to use manual tools because I'd like to know how much force I'm applying. Electric screwdrivers and things like that sometimes apply too much force, and we might just strip this and damage the nut that is embedded inside the seat. So I'm just doing this manually. When it's offering me quite a bit of resistance, I just do a 1/16th of a turn. This should be quite tight, but once again, you should not need to deform your tool in order to tighten this. If you're finding that the tool is bending while you're turning this, you are making it too tight. Right, everything is now in place. I like to just go through and just check that everything is tight. I go through with the manual tool and I just check that everything is tight enough. I can now flip this the right way around. Notice the compressor on the base has this shaft. All I need to do is feed this into the underside of the chair. When bringing the top part to here, do not press this or bump this on this little button here, because this will want to shoot up. So what you want to do is you want to cover it, get it the alignment right, and now press it in. All right, make sure you sit on the chair and test it. Here is the up, down, and the reclining mechanism. The first thing I'm going to do is pull it up to make sure that the compressor is working. There it is. And when I push it down, there I can get the different levels. And this chair can recline, so I'll pull it away from me, lean back, and yes, the chair is reclining. You can set the tension by adjusting this knob over here. If you unscrew it and you find that it's actually getting looser, then it's easier to recline, meaning when you lean back, it's easier to lean back and the chair will follow you easily. If you want it to be more tight and more springy, then you'll tighten this. You'll notice that this is the tightening option because it's actually tighter in your hand when you are tightening it. That means when you put the chair in the reclining option, it will require a heavier weight to lean back.